It's Tuesday, the 6th of February 2018. A very good evening and welcome. This is Primetime News. I'm Joel Outskoon. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
Reports of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the bond issue and serious acts of fraud debated. CORP chairman hits back at UNP MPs who added footnotes to the CORP report. Opposition criticized delay to provide free Wi-Fi.
On our top story this evening. Now, the reports of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry in the assurance of treasury bonds and serious acts of fraud and corruption were debated in Parliament today. The proposal was put forward by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
In addition to the judicial processes, I think there are many more proposals for this House to consider. One is to amend a few laws relating to the central bank. The intention to bring forth a new act for the central bank since 2016 was to restructure the bank through the Monetary Act. Parliament is entrusted with the task of financial control. We have formed a committee on public finance to draft and get this new act passed after examining the parliamentary budget. Yesterday I spoke to the Attorney General about the measures taken through the CORP report. I told him that I have it and I would submit that to him as well.
The Prime Minister was very careful in not using that word which is banned.
We have now withheld 12 billion rupees of perpetual treasuries. The central bank governor told me yesterday as well that this money is there.
Over the past 10 years, Sri Lankan Airlines has incurred a loss of 125 billion rupees. Cabral at the central bank incurred a loss of 8.06 billion for buying Greek bonds. The loss at Avantgarde is 11.4 billion rupees. The loss through the hedging deal was 10.2 billion. The losses which have been caused through the bond scam which we are discussing now is 11 billion. Instead of taking over stolen property, a portion of it was kept for themselves as well. Some ministers got directly involved to cover up these matters and prevent investigations into such fraud and corruption from proceeding. These are matters which have been exposed in Parliament on countless amounts of times. The facts which were revealed went to the extent where the former minister in charge of the police had to resign. The more serious situation is that you began to get involved in large-scale fraud and corruption. In the parliamentary Hansard on the 17th of March 2015, I have called for a detailed report on this bond scam and also exposed the nature of this crime. Answers to these questions were not provided to this country until the report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry was issued on the 1st of January 2018. When this was brought up in Parliament, the moment it happened, the minister in charge of the central bank, the Prime Minister, should have given answers to this issue then and there. Even the Commission report states that the Prime Minister, when providing answers to this issue, has not given the required consideration. There is no point in giving sweet phrases on good governance. Not a single statement made by the Prime Minister in this House was an honest one. There were statements that were made after he was pushed against a wall to protect himself. What was the statement the Prime Minister made in Parliament back then? He said there is no evidence that the governor was involved in this. Claims that the central bank governor interfered in the activities of the tender board are baseless. But what does the Bond Commission report say today? Mr. Mahendran provided internal information to perpetual treasuries at the 27th February auction for profit-making purposes. But you made it your priority as Prime Minister to protect Mahendran in this Parliament. The Prime Minister told this Parliament that the Pitipana Committee was the most extensive and clearest committee. But, disappointingly, the Bond Commission in its report clearly says the Pitipana Committee is unsuitable to conduct such an investigation. Therefore, we believe that accusations against the Prime Minister which have been placed on record by the Bond Commission should not be ignored. I would like to now draw my attention on the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into serious acts of fraud and corruption. This commission has reported that a sum of 3.17 billion rupees of public funds have either been stolen or wasted. It has mentioned that a sum of 235.2 million of the independent television network was misused. The former president has been named as the sixth respondent in this case. There was discussion of abolishing civic rights. We will not allow anyone to draft legislation to play political games. Just as we will be against making Parliament a centre to hunt down and punish a single person. If that person is found guilty of stealing public property, wastage and corruption, we are 100% in support of the Commission's recommendation of abolishing such a person's civic rights of electing a public representative. I would like to ask the ruling party if they are ready to bring in this amendment. This is an amendment that needs to be made in this country. I pity the people of this country. This island nation has got caught in the dinghies of these pirates for the last 70 years, similar to being captured by pirates in Somalia. Until we are freed from these pirates, we will only hear stories of children dying of starvation, farmers committing suicide unable to pay their debts, and mothers who toss their children into the river for the crocodiles.
The institutions investigating this matter did not involve me in it because they clearly knew that the central bank was not under my purview. I have the right to know what was the false information that I provided. I reiterate that it was a political conspiracy. This clearly indicated that someone was interested in assassinating my political career. I can state that this continues to happen today as well. I must state this to this chambers that they've used power and money to make me the victim of a social media attack. The Marpana committee has made a decision that is similar to the decision by the Kakileking. The report of the committee says that no member of the UNP has committed a mistake with regard to the bond scam. I was informed, however, that the report quotes certain lines from the Bond Commission report and has asked that I step down from my political activities until the investigations into the bond matter concludes. Isn't this a joke? I am not surprised about what is going on. Even Lord Buddha had to face similar situations.
නගර සෝබීනියක් වූ චින්චමානි වගේ ධර්මිතියෙන් බැඳලා එව්වා. සත්‍ය සැඟවිය හැකි.
You can hide or defeat the truth, but you can only do it for a short time. The truth will emerge victorious one day.
ජයගනු ඇත.
මේ හොරකම වෙන්න කලින්
Before this theft took place, Malik Samaravikrama, who is a minister today, was the UNP chairman then. Ravi Karunanayaka was the assistant leader and he is here today. Kabir Hashim was the secretary. They went to the central bank to discuss an emergency financial matter with the governor. Why? No matter which government comes into power in this country, the UNP chairman does not have to go and give instructions to the central bank governor. In all its history, the central bank was always gazetted under the finance ministry. This was the first time that the central bank was gazetted under the prime minister's ministry, the Ministry of National Policies and Economic Affairs. This move was the beginning of this plan in this theft. On the 17th of March 2015, the Prime Minister spoke in this parliament protecting Arjuna Mahendran. He blamed others. He said he will take responsibility for Arjuna Mahendran and that he was a smart manager. Sujiva Senasinghe requested for an injunction order from court preventing D.W. Gunasekara from discussing the COPE report in public. He also wrote a book clearing their name from this scam. When Parliament convened after he wrote this book and the new COPE tried to investigate this matter, they removed the UNP MP who was in the committee and appointed MP Sujiva Senasinghe as a member. This clearly shows that this money was divided. You are aware that after Arjuna Mahendran was prevented from being appointed as governor of the central bank for a second term, he was appointed as a special advisor to the Prime Minister's ministry. Neither the COPE report nor the Commission report say he is the mastermind behind this. Now the way I see it, the masterminds are trying to wash their hands off by throwing all the blame onto Ravi Karunanayaka. The United National Party is using the money they stole to run the advertisements on the media. Nowhere has it been mentioned how the Prime Minister used his powers for this theft. It has not been mentioned in the Commission report either. You cannot get away with this by just putting a few tiny figures in prison. To whom were the profits earned at perpetual treasuries distributed to? To which candidates was it distributed at the previous election? How much does the Prime Minister have? It has been revealed that houses were bought. Where is the legal action against those?
On commission,
Yes.
I gave witness, I gave evidence, and the commission very clearly says that there was no discussion about issuing a bond at that meeting.
බොරු කියන්න එපා. තමුන්නාසලා ගරු නියෝජක කතානායකතුමනි මගේ වෙලාව දෙන්න.
නිකන් බොරුවට කෑ ගහන්න නිකන්.
ඔබතුමාට පුළුවන් වුණාට විපක්ෂ සංවිධායකයා ආම්බාම් කරගන්න මේවා දීලා විපක්ෂ සංවිධායකයා ආම්බාම් කරගන්න පුළුවන් වුණාට අපිව ආම්බාම් කරන්න බෑ. ඔබතුමාට මේවා දීලා විපක්ෂ සංවිධායකයාව ආම්බාම් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඔබතුමාගේ නමවත් එයා කියන්නේ. ගරු නියෝජක කතානායක දන්නවනම් නීතියෙන් යන්න. තව කාරණා කියන.
They are saying Arjuna Mahendran won't be arrested. He will have to be. He won't be able to hide overseas. Udayanga Veeruthanga was hiding for his involvement in the MiG aircraft deal, but he was arrested. So similarly, no matter where Mahendran is, he will be arrested. If anyone else is involved, position won't matter. They will be punished. While measures are being taken in this regard, there is a separate alliance which is being formed. This is a collective of all the thieves. The second member of this newly formed political party has met with another powerful member of the UNP. They discussed measures being taken by the president and how they are being affected by it. So they are talking about getting together to weaken the president. So will the people support this? Another politician in Gampaha also meet with another person. Then again, how the court cases are being handled right now. This is a problem for us as well.
We heard the statements expressed by MPs in Parliament today during the debate on the reports of the Presidential Commissions of Inquiry into the bond issue and also the serious acts of fraud and corruption of the previous regime. Now, various parties have also started to make explanations regarding the central bank treasury bond issue.
The chairman of the United National Party, Malik Samaravikrama, issued a statement after comments were made about fraud and corruption.
Malik Samaravikrama states the United National Party has implemented a program within the national government against individuals who take advantage of public enterprises for their personal benefit. He says the arrests, Perpetual Treasury's owner Arjun Aloysius and CEO Kasun Palisena are one step of this program. Samaravikrama goes on to say the party is working against people from the previous regime who embezzled public funds.
Well, Malik Samaravikrama is saying that the UNP is taking action against everyone who is corrupt in the previous regime. Now, before moving on Malik Samaravikrama, we must emphasize that right now a team of officers have been deployed to Dubai to bring back former Sri Lankan ambassador to Russia, Udayanga Weeratunga. Now, the police says this team includes one officer from the Financial Crimes Investigations Division, 2 officers from the Attorney General's Department, 1 officer from the Department of Immigration and Immigration, 2 officers from the Criminal Investigations Department, and 1 officer from the Foreign Ministry. Now, these officers are expected to leave the country tomorrow and go to Dubai and then follow the due process in order to bring back Udayanga Weeratunga.
But what about the incidents that surround Malik Samaravikrama himself? Maitri Gunratna, attorney at law, had this to explain.
He thinks that the people of this country are incompetent. If you ask a 5th grader about the bond scam, that child will elaborate as to what has happened here. Malik Samaravikrama in his statement is trying to portray that it was the UNP who arrested the people involved in the bond scam. The UNP has always attempted to sweep this matter under the carpet. What did Ranil Wickremesinghe do? He appointed a committee of lawyers affiliated to the UNP and tried to hide this. Malik Samaravikrama is similar to Basil Rajapaksa of the former regime when it comes to deals.
Now, those are some strong words by Attorney at Law Maitri Gunaratne against the chairman of the United National Party, Malik Samaravikrama.
Those in government now and who were in opposition back then said that all of the Rajapaksa's money was in Dubai and that the account holder was one Nandana Lokavithana. After they were elected, Nandana Lokavithana was given by the ministry overseeing the BOI under the Minister Malik Samaravikrama several concessions that included the building of a tyre factory in Horana, and the Prime Minister himself inspected this. And we mustn't forget about Lanka. This is a company that Malik Samaravikrama was in and out of, holding directorships and the shareholder. And in fact, when we visited the site, one employee told us at one stage, ask your questions from Malik Mahathir.
So for us now, with Malik Samaravikrama at the center of this issue, we must move on to the next point of the central bank treasury bond issue, especially on the investigations before the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. Now that starts with the footnote gang. Now if we are to move there for us, as you can see here, we have several members of COPE.
Indeed.
And these members were the people, well, they are some of the people who added the footnotes into the COPE report. Now, chairman of COPE, MP Sunil Hadunetti, was once forced to storm out of the COPE sitting because of the pressure that was exerted on him by the members of the United National Party inside COPE who wanted to add footnotes. Now for us, if you look here, we have Hector Puhami. During COPE sittings, there was 23 calls between him and Arjun Aloysius. Sujiva Senasinghe, 63 calls.
That's right.
And well, he says that those calls were made to get clarifications and information for his book, which was published way before COPE was appointed.
But the book was written a year before that.
Indeed, for us. And then we have Ajit P. Pereira, 2 calls during COPE. Now for us, Deputy Minister Ajit P. Pereira, speaking today at a press conference, said that those who criticized their conduct in COPE, especially of adding the footnotes, must apologize. And I think someone responded to that statement as well.
Indeed, they did.
And that was none other than Chairman of COPE, Sunil Handunnetty. Let's have a listen to those statements.
The report states all 32 footnotes are in accordance with the evidence. The arguments of the UNP MPs is now correct. Therefore, if anyone is criticizing or insulting the UNP COPE members, they must apologize. If these people who insulted us for their political gains cannot apologize in public, they must at least apologize in silence. The bond scam rogues and the rogues who wanted to protect the other rogues have messed up. The group who wanted to support Ranil and protect Arjun Mahendran and added footnotes are weeping in parliament and media briefings. They say the Presidential Commission has said the footnotes are correct. Therefore, their footnotes are correct. They reiterate there was no scam, and if there is a scam, it can be punished. But they don't want anyone to say the footnotes are wrong. That's absurd. The people who added footnotes to the COPE report did not want to punish anyone over this scam. They did not want to punish the rogues. They wanted to protect and save the rogues. They claim the Commission has said footnotes are correct. I inquired, have I got it wrong or has the Presidential Commission got it wrong? Footnotes were added to bring disrepute to the COPE report and save the rogues. When Arjun Mahendran is saved, Ranil is also saved. That is why the footnotes gang added the footnotes. They say since the footnotes are correct, the findings of the Presidential Commission are wrong. If the Presidential Commission says Arjuna Mahendran and Arjuna Aloysius are guilty, according to these people, it's wrong because the Presidential Commission says the footnotes are correct. This is the same argument they brought when we were in COPE. Now they are preparing to save the rogues. This is a failed attempt made by them, just like trying to pick up a grain from a pit full of feces.
Now, just who are these footnote club members?
That's right, Fawaz, let's check them out right here. These 9 members are known as a footnote gang. They are the UNP members who added these footnotes that MP Sunil Handunnetty speaks about in his statement to the COPE report. Now Fawaz, if you take a look at a whole picture, including the report of the Auditor General that was given to COPE, and that was his report was actually used to ascertain the loss. Now the loss from this bond scam is astronomical, and it gets even worse when the maturity period reaches of these bonds, or when the bonds mature.
We're talking about the future of the generations to come after us.
Not only that, Fawaz, as you said, the future generations, their future aspirations are at risk, and now the country's reputation is also at risk because of this incident, because when you go overseas, many people question what has happened to your central bank.
Absolutely. So when you look at all of this, one thing is absolutely clear. It is those who are involved in the scam who need to apologize to the nation, and apologize most profusely and sincerely.
And not the other way around.
Absolutely.
Now Fawaz, MP Udaya Gamanpilla, who represents the United People's Freedom Alliance, speaking to reporters yesterday, made a very startling statement about something that we have been speaking hard on over a period of time. Now that is the hurried construction of the 3rd phase of the Central Expressway.
Absolutely. And he said, and we've reported on some of these aspects before, that a loan of nearly $1 billion was obtained, but the insurance premium on that was 10.07%, an astronomically high rate considering that it was in single digits even during and soon after the war ended. And that loan was through the Mitsubishi Tokyo Bank of Japan, and where, according to Mr. Gamanpilla, Arjun Aloysius was the local agent for. And we need to have a look about all the other banks and all the other loans that were obtained.
You mean internationally?
Internationally. Let's perhaps listen to Mr. Gamanpilla's statement today.
මධ්‍යම අධිවේගී මාර්ගයේ පොතුහැර සිට ගලගෙදර දක්වා තිබෙන කිලෝ
A loan of 138 billion rupees has been taken from the Tokyo Mitsubishi Bank in Japan for the construction of 32 kilometers of the Central Expressway from Potuhara to Galagedera. When a loan is given by a bank, and if the bank sees a risk in recovering the loan, it is insured. Following the end of the war, the insurance rate was somewhere between 2 to 5%. However, this loan has an insurance rate of 10%. That means 14 billion rupees. Arjun Aloysius is the local representative of the Tokyo Mitsubishi Bank that held talks with the government of Sri Lanka. For any overseas loan, the Monetary Board must give its approval considering how it will favour the country. The Monetary Board is where Arjun Aloysius' father-in-law was serving as the chair, and it's in the central bank where the father-in-law was the governor. This insurance rate and loan is approved by the Monetary Board. This is the second part of the bond scam. The two main actors in part 1 are also playing a role in the second part.
පළවෙනි කොටසේ හිටිය ප්‍රධාන නළුව දෙන්නම තමයි දෙවෙනි කොටසේ රංගපාන්නේ.
Well, as MP Uday Gammanpilla said, it appears those who were involved in the bond scam are also involved in other irregularities.
Indeed, it is absolutely clear that this bond scam was well orchestrated and above all it was premeditated, and it has cost the country billions of rupees, and the future generations' future is at stake, and therefore it is absolutely essential that everybody rallies around His Excellency the President in his quest to rid this country of the cancer of corruption.
Indeed, for us, as you mentioned, corruption is indeed cancer. The news continues after this commercial break.
The government is seriously considering strengthening the Fiscal Responsibility Management Act. The Fiscal Responsibility Management Act sets targets for the budget deficit, the overall budget deficit, and for the debt, public debt as a percent of GDP figures. Now, while it was introduced, I think in about 2002 or 2003, pretty much in every year it has been breached because it lacks teeth. So the government is considering giving teeth to the Fiscal Responsibility Management Act by specifying the reasons why you can go outside the target, why the target can be breached. For instance, there could be a major shock to the economy resulting in a severe recession, in which case clearly you will need counter-cyclical fiscal policy which pumps demand in the system to bring about recovery. So you may have to temporarily exceed the target.
Well, shifting your attention onto a story which made it to the headlines this evening. Now, providing free Wi-Fi has once again surfaced in the political arena.
A youth recently came up to me and asked whether we are going to provide the Wi-Fi that was promised. Before the end of 2018, we will fulfill the promise we made to provide Wi-Fi to all the villagers free of charge. This is the biggest problem. They have mobile phones, but they do not have the internet. You can see after we provide Wi-Fi, you can message your friends and the girlfriends. There was a slight delay. We have been able to fulfill one promise. The other promise is to provide jobs. This mechanism is put in place to do that. If you look at the faces of the adults here, they do not look happy about us providing free Wi-Fi.
වැඩිහිටියාගේ මූණවල දිහා බැලුවම එච්චර කැමති නෑ වාගේ මේ නොමිලේ Wi-Fi දෙන්න. ඊයේ මම රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයාගේ කතාවක් අහගෙන හිටියා. අගමැතිතුමා.
I was listening to a speech made by Ranil Wickramasinghe. He is saying that the people of this country especially need Wi-Fi. He is saying that a boy can then speak to the girl during the night. A woman who was present there is saying this person is crazy. When the woman said that, he is saying the adults here do not seem very happy about the free Wi-Fi. The Prime Minister of our country is saying this.
මේ කියන්නේ මෙයා අගමැති රටේ.
On to more news here at home. Now, a protest march was held today demanding that the law be implemented against the corrupt.
The protest march organised by the Anti-Corruption Front travelled towards the Parliament. The march stopped by police at the entrance to Parliament.
We would have no issue whatsoever if Ranil Wickramasinghe, Malik Samaravikrama, Kabir or Ravi divided something of their own property. But no, they've pickpocketed the innocent people's money. This robbery has been exposed now, and it is established that Ranil is the biggest thief ever to have been born in this country. A thief like this is not suitable to hold the office of Prime Minister in this country anymore. Ravi Karunanayake has become the scapegoat of the United National Party. Though he was the finance minister, the central bank was under the purview of the Prime Minister.
Well, on that note, we wrap this edition of Primetime News. Thank you very much for stopping by. Before wrapping up, if you missed out on any of the stories, simply log on to our website, that is www.newsfirst.lk. And here is what's coming up next. It's geopolitics in the Indian Ocean region on BIS First in Focus with South Asian defense analyst and author Nitin Gokhale. That's a wrap. I'm Joel Outskun. Take care. Good night.